Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news. You're listening to the Bloomberg Intelligence Podcast. Catch us live weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts or watch us live on YouTube.
All right, let's talk tech. There's a lot going on out there. I want to see. I'm doing this for John Tucker. He's a big TikTok person here, and he's really interested to see what's going to be happening out there.
What's his handle?
What is
Love those 30-second videos about really stupid stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cats on Roombas, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cats on, gotta have
Love it.
That's why when we talk about cats on Roombas, we talk to our senior technology analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence, Mandeep Singh, Anurag Rana. Mandeep's here in our studio, Anurag's in our Chicago bureau. Let's just talk, Mandeep, what's the latest on TikTok here? Because I'm seeing some big private equity guys might be involved. Some big tech names may be involved. What's going on here with TikTok?
Yes, I think the White House is definitely keen to get a deal done. And as you said, there are multiple parties involved. Oracle is the publicly traded entity that's front and center in terms of being the lead company that will be owning TikTok along with these other private investors. And look, at the end of the day, it's clear the algorithm would be rewritten or they would be licensing it. That was a sticking point all along. So Oracle already has the data for TikTok in their data centers. So that part is already sorted out, and it looks like there will be a deal done. I mean, the more private investors that are involved, it kind of makes it hard. Who will determine the strategy in this age of AI, given all these companies are focused on AI and LLM? So who would call the shots in terms of what the future TikTok may look like? But at least it will be owned by U.S. entity and private investors based in U.S.
And Oracle is going to play a big role in operating everything, including retraining a copy of the algorithm that the U.S.-based TikTok would lease from ByteDance. Anurag, I mean, we knew that was kind of in the works from the get-go, but what's surprising me today is some CEO announcements from Oracle. Safra Catz is being succeeded by two co-CEOs. Is this news a surprise?
Well, it's a surprise, yes, but at the same time, I think Oracle's in a very strong position right now. You know, I would say go back several years. I think somewhere around 2014, Larry Ellison had appointed Safra and Mark Hurd as the co-CEOs, but I think Safra's been there for a very long period of time. Now, they're basically saying they're going to move on the leadership to much younger people. And one of them actually is the leader who runs OCI, or Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is behind the TikTok deal, as well as all the other AI deals that we are seeing right now.
Mandy, when you talk to the Googles and the Facebooks of the world and the competitors to TikTok, I mean, this is no foregone conclusion that this thing's going to work, is it? Because I'm a TikTok user. I still got to, I guess, get a new app, port all my stuff, and do it. I mean, we're not sure this is even going to work, is it?
It is. And also, a lot of the creators have moved to these alternative platforms, given this uncertainty has been there for, almost more than a year now.
So who's benefiting?
I mean, your YouTube, Instagram,
okay,
to an extent, Snapchat. But to my mind, the whole focus has shifted from, who has the best recommendation algorithm to who can have the best AI based on the data they have. So look at, what OpenAI has done is used all the open internet data. What Meta is trying to do with their super intelligence is use their social network data to come up with a better large language model. That's what Gemini is doing. And I think that's where the smaller players have a disadvantage. Or Snapchat, even though it may gain some engagement, it just doesn't have the infrastructure to train their own large language model based on the data they have. That's what you would hope to see with a company like TikTok US, that they focus on training their own large language model based on the video data that they have. But I doubt when you have got so many players involved, that's never good for, a long-term strategy where you focus on building a product first and then monetizing. It would be more about making the company profitable and making sure they have a return on investment for for what they're doing.
I mean, this is going to be a complicated transaction because the law mandates this TikTok sale to U.S. owners, but it forbids ByteDance from any operational role, including with software. Meantime, China's law bars the export of sensitive technology like algorithms. So I guess, Anurag, my question to you is it not only technically feasible to fully disentangle TikTok from ByteDance, but will U.S. lawmakers accept whatever convoluted plan has come up here?
I think that has been very clear. I mean, imagine if you go back, back in January, it was supposed to be shut down, but people have been operating it. Oracle has been hosting it. So I think Oracle is going to go out and say, we have control over the data. We have control over the algorithm. And I think that let's hope that will pacify all the regulators and the Congress out there.
So Mandeep, do we know who the CEO of TikTok USA is going to be, who the CFO is going to be, what the board?
Oh, good question.
I mean, we don't know any of that stuff.
No. I mean, the transaction isn't even finalized. We're still hearing rumors about who the private investors are going to be, and that list seems to be growing. Beyond the private equity guys, now it's a Rupert Murdoch, and it was interesting to hear their names.
Okay.
But look, I mean, it will be somebody seasoned. My only hunch here is they may be too focused on, the algorithm, where the bigger opportunity lies in the LLM and, how a video LLM could be a game changer.
AI, everything.
Well, we always have to bring everything back to AI.
Yeah, he knows what gets BI clicks. He knows what's going on. We trained him well. All right, Anurag, what's the 30 seconds left? What's the big thing you're looking at this week?
This week, it's going to be Apple and how the Pro is going to be doing in the market.
Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Intelligence coming up after this.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Intelligence Podcast. Catch us live weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts or watch us live on YouTube.
I swear this whole healthcare discussion used to be more than just obesity drugs.
I know, but it feels like that's the most exciting part of the healthcare world, the pharma world.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Sam Fazeli joins us here. He's a director of research for global industries. He's also like the best healthcare guy over there in Europe. He's based in London, one of the leaders there, and we talk to him all the time. Sam, it looks like, again, Pfizer here, they're spending $4.9 billion for this obesity startup, Metsera. What can you tell us about Metsera?
Yeah, Paul, how are you doing? And Scarlet, nice to have you both again
Happy
talking
Monday.
about this topic. Thank you, topic of obesity. So look, just to answer your opening point, obesity is one of the key causes of a whole variety of diseases: cardiovascular, cancer, mental health. So if we can treat it, if we can prevent it, if we can reduce it, it's brilliant for the entirety of society. Here, there is a deal where Pfizer thinks they've got something that's going to be able to give them a chance at playing in this very important area and very massive market, right? So the drugs are interesting. They're relatively early stage. We're looking to see, with some new data coming up, whether some of the promise that we've seen earlier for these drugs that the company has, which the later stage one is still in phase 2. They need to start the phase 3 in 2026, whether they are as competitive as they looked in the earlier trials. There were some questions on efficacy, less so than side effect profile. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
Sam, could you get into the science a little bit and maybe, keep it basic for folks like Paul and me? Because Metsera is described as the next generation hopeful in obesity. They use these long-acting amylin analogs versus GLP-1. And I'm wondering, for people who might be holding out for Metsera's treatment, what that means versus the currently available Zepbound or Wegovy.
Yeah. So the latest stage drug is very similar to Wegovy and similar to Zepbound or Zepbound. And the amylin drug is a little bit earlier stage. There are companies with more advanced drugs in that world, but they all kind of feed into the same pathway, which is the pathway that talks between your food intake and your satiety centers in your brain and your insulin centers in your pancreas. It tries to balance, I've eaten enough, let's stop eating now, and let's release some insulin, make it more sensitive so that we can deal with the onslaught of sugar that comes into our blood. That's where they are. It's that central to that space. There's cells in the gut that release glucagon-like GLP-1s, glucagon-like peptides, the cells in other parts of the body who are responding to it. So that's where these things sit. And amylin is just one of those agents in the middle of it.
Sam, just kind of stepping back on these GLP-1 drugs in general, there's a certain level of efficacy today. There's a certain level of, let's say, side effects, whether it's nausea or something else today. Is there room for improvement on both efficacy and side effects going forward with these drugs?
Yeah, I mean, with it's the balance that's the most important. With efficacy, I think we're pretty much there. I mean, there are folks that we know that go on a drug for a week or two and they lose 4 or 5 kilograms. That's fine. You don't want to lose much faster than that because I don't think it's particularly healthy if you lose weight at a much higher speed. And also, you don't want to get much lighter than a 80 kilo or 90 kilo or 75 kilograms, depending on your size. So the key is, how do you get there? If you get there by having lots of side effects, then your probability of staying on the drug is lower. But we want you to stay on the drug. So it's a very, very tight balance. And then, of course, you have to figure out, well, am I happy taking a weekly injection, which I think a lot of people don't have a problem with it. But what if Metsera is right and push it to once monthly? What if some of the other competitors coming along with once every 3 months? Now, those are things that we have to wait and see how the data shows in terms of that balance I've just referred to.
Sam, we mentioned earlier the headline that the White House now says doctors may be exempt from H-1B visa fees that were just announced of $100,000. Obviously, that has huge ramifications for the medical industry. What does it mean, potentially, the $100,000 fee for H-1B visas for the pharma and the biotech industry in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think that any industry that requires skilled workers, I think the sector that's most exposed is one that you guys probably have already talked about, is the tech industry, right? In terms of pharma biotech, I think the US has pretty good existing talent. The point is, though, that sometimes a particular talent is based somewhere else. You just want that particular person. So why do you have to go through this process if they really are the one person who knows this particular disease area so well? And does really one or two people at that level make a difference? Especially in a sector where US is already a leader, you're not really bringing in people to compete with the US talent. So that's something that I think is important to remember. Doctors, of course, a country that doesn't, like Europe, many countries in Europe aren't producing enough doctors, right. UK especially. You need to allow that.
Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Intelligence coming up after this.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Intelligence Podcast. Catch us live weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts or watch us live on YouTube.
Let's go now to Mark Gurman. He's our go-to tech gadget guy for more on Oura, because we're just talking about how Oura's, the company that owns Oura, that wellness ring, is now an $11 billion company with its latest capital raise. Mark, this is a Finnish company, and it needed to raise more money, didn't it?
Definitely. They want to scale production. They want to scale R&D. They want to move into new regions. They want to get into new retail stores. They want to add new software features. So they're looking to grow quickly. This nearly $11 billion valuation, this is a pretty specific hardware company. They really make one thing. And if you look at their market cap now, after that raise, you compare it to other companies that are known for really one type of hardware product, Peloton, iRobot, Sonos, Bose. Oura is now worth more than all of them combined, which is pretty crazy to think about. So far, this looks to be a success story. It's not a very old company, but it's a company doing effective things, and they're clearly building a product that people like. They've sold 3 million units in the last 15 months or so. They've sold 5.5 million rings to date. They're due to cross 1 billion in revenue in 25, $1.5 billion in 26. They did 500 million in 24. So they seem to be growing quite nicely.
I don't know, not being into the fit ring business myself.
Fit ring, I like that.
Fit ring. I mean, this seems like something that your friends at Cupertino could come out with tomorrow and copycat. How do you think about the competitive landscape?
Yeah, the competitive landscape is interesting. There's a few smaller players that are also doing smart rings. Samsung rolled out what they call the Galaxy Ring last year. And for Samsung, it's actually been a dud. The functionality is just not on par with Oura. What Oura has is a very strong brand. They have very strong functionality, and they have that big first mover advantage. But you're right. If Apple comes out with a ring, they're going to eat Aura's lunch. Aura's perspective is that they have this gigantic and tried and true in legal proceedings patent portfolio. And so they feel that if Apple were to come out with a ring, or another company were to really hit the nail on the head with a ring, that they would be able to defend their patents. And they've shown to be able to do that. They have some cases in front of the International Trade Commission and other organizations right now for some of the other competitors. So we'll see what happens. I don't anticipate Apple coming out with a ring anytime soon. I will say that this $10 billion valuation is a little bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, that's amazing for the company. On the other hand, it puts them in territory where they're probably not going to be acquired or bought, and which would spur another company like Apple, if they wanted a ring, to develop one versus buy them. And definitely they're going to have to make a decision in the next couple of years whether they're going to go public via an IPO, via a SPAC, or if they're going to stay private.
Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Intelligence coming up after this.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Intelligence Podcast. Catch us live weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. Listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts, or watch us live on YouTube.
Let's go back to a story that we were talking about earlier, which is the CEO change over at T-Mobile. We just spoke earlier with the outgoing CEO and the incoming CEO with our Bloomberg Television colleagues, Caroline Hyde and Ed Ludlow. And so now we want to bring in our Bloomberg Intelligence expert, John Butler, the senior telecom analyst, for more on this. John, was this a surprise, this changeover?
Not at all. This was incredibly well broadcast. Srini has been hitting the conference circuit. So at this time of year, all the major investment banks hold these conferences. And he's been at almost every one, sort of out there telling the T-Mobile story. And in my mind, it answers one of two questions, right? With any incoming CEO, you're like, can they manage the company effectively? And can they manage the stock effectively? Can they get that narrative out, spin a good story? And he is really good at that. So he's answered the second question. And I think in some ways he's answered the first as well.
Talk to us about the wireless business these days. It's just a brutally competitive business. Just give us the lay of the land there between AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and I don't know anybody else who might be out there.
I mean, the big three are still dominant, Paul, and T-Mobile has executed beautifully over the past few years. You know, they've done a very good job of sort of securing the lead in terms of subscriber growth by, you know, marketing on this hip counterculture brand image. Mm-hmm. They continue to be, I think, having an outsized impact on consumers. When you think of wireless, it really is a consumer retail business. They all have thousands of stores. They advertise on the Super Bowl. They have giveaways. And I think T-Mobile, more than most, really does that well. And I think the big three, because of their scale, it sort of sets this sort of wide moat for any newcomers that want to come in. So T-Mobile as number two in the industry, I think, is going to remain firmly in that place, if not move into the number one position over the next several years.
Who's number one? Verizon?
Number one is Verizon still. So
I'm a Verizon person.
I am too, by the way.
You just went to Italy.
Yes.
And what did you do for your phone needs?
Fine. I have a plan that just ports over to an international.
Okay, because
all of my offspring. That's the only thing that I still pay for.
They're on the payroll in that regard.
Yes.
No one wants to give that up. Why pay for your own cell phone service when Dad will pay for it?
Yes.
I switched over to T-Mobile because of the giveaways. Yes, because of the free iPhone last cycle, and also because you get free data and free international texting when you're overseas up to 5 gigabytes. So that means I never have to buy an international day pass.
Comparison shopping.
That is the single biggest hook I hear. So when people come to me and they're like, I'm a T-Mobile subscriber, they have all these giveaways.
And they have international calling.
That makes a big difference because when I was on AT&T, I was paying $10 a day.
Yeah.
And that adds up really quickly.
It does. It really does.
And then only one person in the family can get it because, not everyone's going to get it.
Right.
And you have 4 offspring, plus an ex-wife you're still paying for.
Well, there you go, Paul.
Charlie Pellet is on the T-Mobile. He always tries to sell me to go
Charlie
to T-Mobile.
also knows the great deals. That's the secret here at Bloomberg.
Right.
Charlie knows all the great
traveling to
deals.
strange parts of the world where he probably needs that kind of stuff. So what's the future of wireless in this country? Is it just ARPU growth, average revenue per user? I mean, is that kind of the story for everybody?
That is the great question. That is what's driving growth now. For a telco, you sort of run out of room for adding new subs. And so you need to drive that up, that average revenue per user. And they're doing it with the giveaways we were just talking about. They actually charge modestly for those in some cases. They're selling you phone insurance. T-Mobile is now pushing into the advertising business. But the real avenue of growth to watch for them going forward is broadband. They are making more and more inroads into that market. And T-Mobile, it's what I'm watching with the new CEO here to see what he does in fiber broadband. Because if T-Mobile has had any sort of a misfire over the past decade, it's not getting into fiber broadband in a bigger way, in the way that AT&T and Verizon both have through sizable and aggressive acquisitions. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. My call is he's going to start building quickly and aggressively, would be my guess.
Another thing I just thought of that sold me on T-Mobile was they have a really simple bill, right? They don't have the quoted amount and then tax on top of that. Yep. Everything's included, which makes a big difference.
Right.
It's user-friendly.
They're very good at consumer branding. They really understand the consumer and what they want in wireless and from their carrier.
And Snoop Dogg.
He's a
spokesperson.
Yeah, I know.
So when it comes to fiber optic, how much more of that rollout is left? I mean, where are they in that not transition, but in that build out? Is it like second inning or is it eighth inning?
So I'm going to call second inning. Here's the really interesting fact I picked up recently. If you look at Canada or even Europe, parts of Europe, fiber broadband is 70% of the total installed base of broadband subscribers. And keep in mind, fiber is far and away the best medium for broadband. It has truly symmetrical speeds, so upload and download, great for Zoom calls. And it's extremely high capacity. So it's sort of future-proof in that sense. The U.S. is only 30% penetrated with fiber. So I think there's lots of room to run there. And that's what AT&T has done so well. They have really leaned hard into a fiber broadband strategy. Verizon has and is continuing to lean in there. And T-Mobile is the laggard. So again, with the new CEO coming in here, I'm looking to see if we'll see any change in that strategy of theirs.
This is the Bloomberg Intelligence Podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Listen live each weekday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, and the Bloomberg Business app. You can also watch us live every weekday on YouTube and always on the Bloomberg Terminal.